Hello everyone, straight from Brazil to the world, you are on the Boosted Man channel. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos.
Have you ever noticed that some women simply cannot forget certain men? It's not just about looks, money, or status. It's something deeper, almost invisible. A trait that remains even when the man is no longer around. A trace that cannot be explained rationally, but is imprinted on her mind and body like a silent mark. Maybe you've lived the opposite, giving your all, being loyal, attentive, present, and still being forgotten as if you never existed. You offered the best of yourself, and yet she moved on as if nothing had meaning. This silent pain is more common than most men realize. And that is where the inevitable question emerges. Why do some men get carved into a woman's memory, while others disappear like smoke? Carl Jung once said that the unconscious speaks through symbols and invisible marks. In the same way, a man's presence can act as a powerful symbol. What she feels around you goes beyond words. It's not what you promise, but the energy you radiate. Not what you say, but what your silence communicates. The truth is, you don't get to choose whether you'll be remembered or forgotten. It's the invisible impact you generate that determines that. Most men make the mistake of trying to be remembered through forced effort. Constant messages, exaggerated displays, desperate attempts to prove worth. But the more you force, the faster you fade. What really remains is not insistence, but the silent echo you leave behind. This echo can be built. It comes from an inner state, not surface-level techniques. It manifests when you stop trying to be the center of her attention and start becoming the center of your own gravity. At that point, female desire stops being a conscious choice and becomes an automatic, almost instinctive response. The man no woman ever forgets isn't the one playing cheap games, but the one who awakens something inside her that even she doesn't fully understand. He becomes a mirror of her vulnerabilities, a reminder of her hidden desires, a symbol of something rare she can't control. And that's what we're going to explore, how to become that man. Not by wearing a mask, but through the inner strength that shapes every look, every gesture, every silence. When you learn to access this level, you can't be erased from her memory. You become part of her emotional map that will stay with her for years, even if you never meet again. The invisible impact. When presence leaves marks the echo of silence. Why your absence can be more powerful than forced presence. Have you noticed how someone's absence can weigh heavier than their presence? When you try to force your way into a space where you're not invited, you become disposable. But when your absence is felt, when the silence you leave creates a noticeable void, you become unforgettable. Her mind starts to fill that void with memories, assumptions, and desires. And the more she fills it, the larger you grow inside her. The emotional imprint. How a single feeling stays longer than 1,000 words. Words can be forgotten. Promises can be broken. But the feeling you awaken stays. It's like an emotional fingerprint, unique, impossible to replicate. Maybe it was an unexpected glance, a touch cut short, or the way you remained silent when she expected an answer. The imprint doesn't come from effort, it comes from the unexpected. What she can't predict is what stays. The test of time. When she realizes no one else compares. True impact isn't measured in the heat of the moment, but in the coldness of the days after. When she tries to move on, when she meets other men, that's when the test happens. If even with new experiences you still echo in her memory, your presence has transcended time. She realizes she cannot compare you to anyone, and what cannot be compared cannot be forgotten. The mirror of the unconscious. What she feels in you that exposes her own vulnerabilities. What truly binds her is not only who you are, but what you awaken in her. Unconsciously, you become a mirror of the weaknesses she tries to hide. Maybe your calmness exposes her anxiety, or your independence reveals her neediness. The invisible impact happens when she can't escape herself in your presence. In that mirror, you're not just a man. You're the reflection of what she can't control. The body's memory of desire. Why her body remembers before her mind. The body holds memories the mind can't erase. A shiver, a quickened breath, the memory of how the energy in the room shifted when you walked in. Female desire isn't just rational, it's physical, almost primal. That's why, even when she tries to forget, her body betrays her. And whenever a new man approaches, her body silently compares him to the memory you left behind. Masculine mystery is not what you think. The fatal mistake of the mysterious man. Why fake distance doesn't create real attraction. Many men believe the secret to being unforgettable is playing the mystery role, pretending to be distant or artificially indifferent. That's the fatal mistake. Pretending to be something you're not creates distance without magnetism. True mystery isn't about calculated omission but genuine depth. When you have real layers, convictions, and life experiences, she feels she can't decode you at a glance. Fake coldness is empty. Authentic depth is irresistible. The true aura of scarcity, the power of not offering the obvious. The man who gives everything immediately becomes predictable. The obvious never fascinates. True scarcity isn't about disappearing on purpose. It's about not selling yourself cheap. It's about not offering the same pattern of attention anyone else could. Scarcity is value, and value doesn't need explanation. It's demonstrated in how you prioritize your time, in your ability to say no, in the calm of someone who doesn't beg for approval, the magnetic contradiction, warmth and coldness in the same glance. Nothing captivates a woman's mind more than emotional ambiguity. The man who can project warmth and independence at the same time creates tension that fuels curiosity. It's in the contrast between openness and distance that true attraction is born. Warmth shows humanity, coldness shows sovereignty. This contradiction confuses her unconscious and keeps her on alert, trying to decode who you really are. What she can't decode in you, the subtlety that generates obsession. Women are used to predictable men, the ones who give everything too soon, and the ones who play obvious games. But when you escape this logic, everything changes. Maybe it's the way you listen without rushing to respond. Maybe it's how you refuse to explain yourself unnecessarily. These details create authentic mystery, not because you're hiding something, but because you're too deep to be revealed all at once. What cannot be decoded repeats itself in her mind. The power of the unsaid. Why unfinished words weigh more than full declarations. Some words mark not because of what they give, but because of what they leave unsaid. An interrupted sentence, a look that suggests but doesn't confirm, a story left unfinished. These gaps are filled by her imagination, and imagination is always stronger than reality. The unsaid carries symbolic weight. It makes her think of you even when you're gone. Strategic silence creates constant presence. Female desire is always a reflection of your inner state. The void. She rejects when your neediness speaks louder than your words. You can try to hide it, but your body, your voice, and your gestures expose you. Neediness is an invisible noise that sabotages every attempt at connection. Even if your words are right, the inner void echoes louder. She doesn't reject you as a person. She rejects the frequency of scarcity you project. Female desire doesn't connect with a man who begs, but with a man who radiates completeness. The glow of self-sufficiency. The difference between wanting company and needing it. There is a silent magnetism in a man who enjoys female company, but doesn't depend on it. Wanting is choice. Needing is prison. When she sees your energy is directed at something bigger than just winning her over, the glow of self-sufficiency appears. It doesn't feel like arrogance, it feels like serenity. The difference is clear. The needy drain energy, the self-sufficient share it. And that balance creates respect and inevitably desire. The paradox of strong vulnerability. How to open wounds without losing authority. Men often think vulnerability is weakness, but the truth is more complex. Vulnerability becomes attractive only when paired with inner structure. Showing your pain without losing firmness reveals depth. Sharing something intimate without begging for comfort creates rare connection. A man who can expose wounds while staying strong shows humanity without losing authority. That paradox keeps her bound unconsciously. The energy of choice. The magnetism of a man who doesn't beg for attention. Most men give away their power by waiting for approval, begging for signs of interest. The unforgettable man flips the script. He chooses, not with arrogance, but with energy. He doesn't chase every possibility, doesn't get desperate for replies. He selects, and that silent act communicates value. Female desire connects to this field of sovereignty. The more you stand as the chooser, the more she craves being chosen. The reflection of value. She reacts to what you believe you're worth. No words or gestures can hide how much you believe you're worth. If you see yourself as low value, that vibration seeps into every interaction. But when you carry the certainty that your time, your energy, and your presence have weight, she reacts to that reflection. Female desire, in the end, is a response. Not to who you claim to be, but to who you already know you are. The male body as hidden language. The weight of postural silence. Why your body speaks before your mouth. Long before you speak, your posture has already told the truth. Curved shoulders, lost gaze, restless movements. Your body reveals insecurity before your words even begin. The opposite is true. When your posture is firm, when you occupy space without exaggeration, the impact is instant. Body language never lies. It's the loudest silence you carry. She may not remember what you said, but she will remember the energy your body projected the moment you walked in. The breath that controls the room. The rhythm that transmits dominance or insecurity. Few notice, but the simple act of breathing can change the entire atmosphere. A man who breathes shallow and fast radiates anxiety. One who breathes deeply and steadily radiates control. This isn't theater, it's energetic. Breathing sets your presence, shapes your voice, and even dictates the pace of your pauses. When you breathe calmly, the room breathes with you. That's invisible influence. The interrupted touch. Why stopping too soon creates stronger memory than insisting. Masculine touch carries intensity. But what creates desire is not insistence, it's stopping at the right moment. When you withdraw earlier than expected, when you don't prolong the contact, you create a void her body keeps trying to complete. That void becomes memory. Interrupted touch imprints more deeply than long contact. It's absence, not presence, that burns into her memory. The dance of proximity. How physical distance creates erotic tension. The space between you and her is a language. Getting too close too soon creates discomfort. Staying distant creates indifference. The secret is conscious movement between both poles, a silent dance of approach and retreat. This oscillation builds erotic tension. Human bodies respond to rhythm, and when you master proximity, you turn a simple moment into a lasting memory. The edge gaze. The psychological effect of not always looking directly. Direct eye contact is powerful, but overused it loses impact. What really intrigues is the edge gaze, the look that breaks at the right time, that leaves gaps, that doesn't reveal everything. This gaze creates doubt, imagination, desire. Her mind starts filling in the blanks you left open. Continuous eye contact delivers intention. Broken eye contact creates mystery, and mystery is unforgettable. The man she never forgets isn't an act. It's inner force. The trace you leave after you're gone. Value lies in what remains, not what is displayed. The man who leaves a mark isn't the one who talks the most or shows off the most. It's the one who remains even when he's no longer present. The trace is everything you didn't need to show. The calm left in the room after you walked out. The memory of a look no one else could replicate. What you display can be replaced. What you leave in silence cannot. The authority of no. The power of denying when everyone says yes. Most men get lost trying to please. They accept everything, allow everything, agree to everything. The unforgettable man carries the authority of no. It's not rebellion, it's clear limits. When you can say no, when you're not available for everything, you stand out. No doesn't push away. It creates value. It's the boundary that turns your presence into a conquest. Genuine scarcity, time that cannot be bought, only shared. Your time is your rarest asset. When you treat it like something endless, it loses worth. But when you live with awareness, investing your moments only in what matters, your scarcity becomes genuine. It's not strategy, it's essence. And that essence translates into magnetism. She feels that being with you is not a right, but a privilege. Invisible consistency. Magnetism born from emotional stability. Unstable men may create brief curiosity, but they're forgotten just as quickly. What creates lasting impact is consistency, being predictable in what matters, firmness, clarity, balance. When you stay solid even in chaos, she records that experience as a reference. It's invisible consistency that separates the forgettable from the unforgettable, presence as legacy. When your energy keeps speaking even in silence. True masculine presence doesn't end when you leave. It continues vibrating like a flame that won't go out. The man no woman forgets isn't the one who shouts the loudest. It is the one who keeps speaking in silence. His energy becomes a legacy, a symbol she carries within. That's when you stop being just a memory and become part of her story. You've seen now that female memory isn't tied to the obvious. It's not constant texts, exaggerated gestures, or repeated promises that last. What remains is invisible, symbolic, and deep. It's the silence that echoes louder than words, the interrupted glance that creates more desire than any declaration, the energy you transmit even when you make no effort. The unforgettable man isn't born from shallow techniques. He emerges when you stop playing roles and start living from your inner force. When your presence doesn't depend on her approval, but on the stability you carry within. When your vulnerability isn't neediness but truth sustained by strength. When your limits don't push away but define value. This path requires awareness. It demands that you stop measuring yourself by others and start measuring by what you sustain inside. Because in the end, what a woman never forgets isn't what you tried to show, it is what you truly were at her side, a reflection of strength, rarity, and balance. Carl Jung said, "What is not brought to consciousness appears as fate." If you stay unconscious of the energy you radiate, you'll keep repeating the same patterns of rejection and being forgotten. But when you become conscious, when you cultivate presence as an energetic field, you stop being just another man in the crowd. You become the reference. The unforgettable man isn't the one who tries to impress, but the one who awakens what she cannot control, not the one who insists, but the one who leaves traces. Not the one begging for attention, but the one who generates silence full of meaning. The unforgettable isn't the man she remembers because she wants to. It's the man she cannot forget, even when she tries.